Hello, this is Natalie Goff for Ambitious Media. I'm here with Philip Earl of MooNiE and Broon. This is MooNiE. I guess first I'd just really like to know, I read online on your site that you and Broon started acting together in your comedy acts when you started, or I'm not sure who started, but someone popped into each other's act. You would just show up.
It was Broon who suggested that I join him for his last show of the day because he was hired he had a really, they brought him in and they gave him 4 shows, but he wasn't allowed to pass the hat for the 4th show.
Oh.
So, since he didn't have anything to lose, he's like, well, I was kind of doing this with somebody else in a different part of the country. Why don't you do it with me at this show? And because we were on the same stage just as we are now, and we have been for over a decade, at least over a decade here and in Northern California as well. And so he said, why don't you come on stage? And so it started out with me being just kind of on the side, heckling him a little bit, and then he very quickly asked me to come up and do something, and then it became us doing stuff together very, very quickly, and it was never really talked about. It just evolved that way. That's just kind of what the show wanted to be, and that's always how we've done it.
Great. How did you get to know Broon? Was it behind the scenes, or?
No, I saw him. He was just another performer at the fairs.
Wow. And
I saw him from afar, and his name was Broon, and I knew he would find it irritating. Even though I didn't know him, I knew that it would be okay to irritate him. And so I held up a broom in the back of the crowd. I went up to the back of the crowd and I held a broom until he wouldn't stop, until he had to acknowledge me. And he said, no, Broon, not broom. And I was like, oh, okay.
I also noticed that you perform as an individual and as a pair, with Broon.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit more about working both alone and with another person? Do you prefer one? Could you describe the experience you get from that?
I can't say that I prefer one or the other. I like them both in combination with each other.
Okay.
It is my favorite show of the day to do the MooNiE and Broon show at the end of the day. However, I think part of the reason is because I've been doing 4 or 5, depending on the fair. I've been doing all of the same show all day long, and it's a chance to do something different. And that show is never the same. My show there's the yin and the yang of it. It's always the same, and it's never the same. I bring up different people every time, and you never know what's going to happen, but the path is fairly consistent from what we're going to do. The MooNiE and Broon show, just never know. And so I like that freedom. In the beginning, when I first started, that was frightening because I didn't know, and I didn't have an improvisational background. I have a theater background of doing film, television, and live theater, and then I did this on the side, and now I do mostly this.
Great.
Yeah.
I guess that was going to be my next question, is at what point did you decide to pursue this, career of comedy entertainment? What led up to that? Did you have did you have to stop at one point and have self-reflection? Was there a process you went through, or what led you to here?
Well, I was always this is my 30th year doing Renaissance fairs.
Oh.
And I never intended to have a career in Renaissance fairs. It just kind of worked out that way. I graduated from college, and then I got a good job in one comedy show, and then I was doing that for a few years, and then there was an artistic director of that show who said I should have my own show. I said, I don't have a show. He said, that's okay, I'll pay you this much, you go out and you learn. And I was terrible, and I was terrible, and I was terrible, and I got some good advice, and so I just kept at it, and then I got better, and it was always just something that I could make money at and doing. And then being an artist, and I always wanted to get better and better and better. So then ultimately I got married and got kids, and now this pays the bills. It's very good job for me.
That also leads to my next question. Also, what other challenges might you have faced on a personal level, interpersonal, situational? Was there any other? What are some of the main hardships you had to come through?
I've walked away from it. There have been many hardships. I'm 46. Life puts roadblocks, and life creates hazards that you have to get through or avoid. And the greatest tragedy, of course, would be the fact that my eldest child is deceased from leukemia. And all during the time that she was ill for 20 months, and she died when she was 5 and a half. I had to still go out and be funny. And it's challenging to get on a plane and go and do shows when you know your daughter is fighting for her life. I would say that was obviously the greatest challenge. And comedy is it's a technique. It's if you, once you learn how to do it, once you learn how to engage people and how to create an energy flow, there's a flow of energy that is imperative when you're having a live performance, and especially with comedy. That it's your personal feelings are not relevant, and so you get up and you go and you do your job and you do it to the best of your ability, and that's always been my number one goal. I want to be better my next show than I was my last show.
Great.
Every single time I want to be better and better and better and better every single time.
So you literally set that goal.
I set that goal
great.
every single time of my life.